absolutely.
With what kind of result?
Well, Michigan is a good example. All the state employees now have a defined contribution plan. If
All,
you're
not just the state. We're talking the mailman, or not the dog catcher and the city council.
No, I'm talking about the state employees. Okay. Now, Alaska has replaced defined benefits with defined contributions for all employees. And Michigan is a good example of why this system works, because basically they've been able to reduce the cost of their pension plan in the process. They set aside some of the money to repay the unfunded liabilities, and I think they're delivering better pension services to their employees. And the problem for Kent and legislators is that in statute and in terms of government accounting standards, PERA must repay those unfunded liabilities within a 30-year time frame. That's in Colorado statutes. There is absolutely no way that they will be able to do that. Now, what I recommended is that...
Give that to me in English.
Sure.
So the PERA board has to fund what within 30 years?
They have to, if they have $27 billion in unfunded liabilities,
which they do right now,
they have to show that to meet accounting standards and to meet Colorado statutes that they can repay that money. They can pay that off in 30 years. There is absolutely no way that they can do that. Now, what I recommend,
there's no way they can fill this deficit of $27 billion in 30 years.
Essentially, they're insolvent in the same sense that many private pension plans are insolvent. And what I've argued is, and Ken and I have talked about this, what the legislature should do is declare an actual emergency. And by doing so, this would provide the basis for very fundamental reforms in PERA, not just the Band-Aid reforms that frankly were enacted in 2005 and several years prior to that, but the same kind of reform that has been enacted in state and local governments across the country, and that is they need to replace that defined benefit plan with a defined contribution plan. The reason is, in the long run, as your employees in the defined contribution plan replace employees in the defined benefit plan, the unfunded liabilities disappear. Now, it takes a long time, but that is the ultimate, the best solution to this problem.
But isn't that politically really difficult to do? Because right now, as I understand it, a lot of the members of the PERA board also get PERA benefits, and these benefits are so wildly lavish. Give me an idea of what somebody who retires from the state of Colorado can get when they retire. I've heard that it is an average of their 3 most profitable years
I think it's based upon some of those numbers, but I'd like to respond to one thing that Barry said, though. What we heard on our joint finance committee was basically one of these retirement plans is not one big retirement plan, but there are some for teachers and some for different types of government workers. Basically, every one of their funds is coming up with the same numbers. They can't make the numbers work over a 30-year period.
Which is against the law, right?
That's a good question, and I think
that would be a good answer.
Well,
is that against
the
law?
answer right now is we need to find out and confirm what's really happening. And our joint budget committee right now is collecting some inputs, collecting questions to formally ask PERA, and I'm going to be presenting some questions to them this afternoon. So part of that is I think we need to, as a committee in both the House and the Senate, look at these, put our ideas down on paper, ask specific questions, get specific answers. At that point, I think we'll have more information to make some of those decisions.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to pull yourself out of that wonderfully political answer, and let's bring it. Do you think we're in a state of emergency with PERA?
I think we already are.
State of emergency where the legislator has an obligation to say, time out, we're freezing everything, and we're going to do something drastic.
Well, I think it looks right now, it looks very, very bad to the extent where we need to basically open up the books and find out what's going on. Now, I can't make that decision myself, and that's why we need to have an involved and coordinated approach from both the House and the Senate.
Let me play devil's advocate here. People who are in PERA love PERA, and they should, because the benefits that they are guaranteed to get under this are so astronomically good. I mean, it is an average of some of your top paying years, and it's there forever. And it's why public employees get paid so well when you look at their benefits package, and that's the way we ought to be looking at it. So they don't want to give this up. Even members of the PERA board are on PERA. Therefore, they've got an interest to keep these benefits the way they are. And many in your own world, legislators, while you get only a small amount of pay, many of them have worked in government, hope to work out of government after their term in office. They've got a stake at this. So it's not like people like Barry couldn't look at this from afar, hands off, and go, "You guys are in trouble." You know, you're dealing with people who make their money, who will make lavish retirements if it stays the same and if taxpayers pay it out. So if you are in violation of statute, if you cannot repay this money within 30 years, there are a lot of things that are in violation of statute, but unless somebody pushes it, nothing happens. Who's going to push this?
Well, part of the problem is, and you mentioned this, I think in your terms, this lavish benefit goes on forever. Problem is, it may not go on forever. If we keep spending the premiums out and keep lowering the amount in the account, eventually, maybe within a couple of years, 3 years, 4, 5 years, 10 years, there won't be money left. We have to, recapitalize that investment, get in there, find out what's going on in there, and I think delaying this is only delaying the inevitable.
The inevitable being that you're going to have to sell your assets.
Or you're going to have to do something else. And the question is the PERA board going to come back to the legislature and ask for some sort of bailout over their retirement system? Probably with the idea that this is going to come from the taxpayers, which is of questionable legality.
All right, now when I gave that comparison to United Airlines, they went bankrupt. They're a private company, and when the union pushed for too many lavish benefits, it ended up destroying United. They had to reorganize, and they probably have fixed a lot of those problems, but they had to cut benefits for those people they promised benefits to. When I said here in Colorado, the taxpayers are going to be on the hook, you kind of gave me a look of maybe, maybe not. When I said governments don't go into bankruptcy, I kind of got that sense that you might say, maybe they do. Tell me about this.
Well, actually, you can point to different jurisdictions that have gone into bankruptcy, because San Diego has a pension system that basically the city's bankrupt and their pension system is bankrupt. In Denver here, several decades ago, our police and fire protection pension plan went bankrupt, and at that point the state did get in and bail them out. And I'm sure that's what PERA expects to happen in this case. It was interesting to me that the first meeting that they had, PERA's response was the same one they had to us. We'll muddle through, not a problem. We want to study this problem for another year. And unfortunately, for several years now, they've been able to get the legislature to come in and do a Band-Aid solution that doesn't solve the problem. So we're right back where we were. In fact, we're in a worse situation than we were in 2005.
Who's going to bail them out? Obama? Is this part of the stimulus package, or are they going to print up money and fill the void with printed up money?
Well, John, I think there's a fiscal train wreck coming, and it's coming in 2010. And the wreck is going to happen for several reasons. One is the state spent $5.8 billion of surplus money for this 5-year period. That goes away. The state is going to spend several $billion in bailout money from Obama's bailout money. That's a one-time money. That goes away. So a lot of this money is going into ongoing programs. Then in 2010, that one-time money goes away, and we're probably going to still be in a revenue shortfall. So the question is, how do we pay for these programs?
Let me put it in a term I can understand.
Sure.
When government spends dollars, they don't spend it on pizza and beer, which is a one-time thing. They put it into programs, and every time you spend $1 down there, you've got to figure the next year you're going to spend $1.06, and then the year after that you're going to spend 6% more on that. So you're saying that even if you get this one-time money, unless they spend it on something that is consumable that 1 year, if they put it into programs, all they're doing is jacking up the size of the budget, which needs to grow forevermore after that.